ॐ वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। ओम श्री महागणपतये नमः। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्य मध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्य पर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। अस्मद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम श्री मेधा दक्षिणामूर्ति स्वामिने नमः। ओम सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरिः ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम। ओम पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्धदामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्र रुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्कपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसां पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तन्न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः। देवाय तस्मै नमः। Namaste once again, everyone. Antavanta ime dehaha nityasyoktha sharirinaha anashino prameyasya tasmad yudhyasva bharata. So in the last class, we were seeing the meaning of this shloka. So having already said that Atma is Nityaha, Atma is Satyaha, and Atma is Sarvagataha, all pervasive. In this shloka, Bhagavan Krishna talks about three more aspects of Atma. Atma means the self. We must always, whenever we hear the word Atma, we must not have an orientation of understanding as something outside. The moment we say Atma means it is referring to one's own self. That is very important in the Vedanta practice. Why? Because as we saw, Atma is not an object. Atma is a subject. So the three aspects Bhagavan talked about was Sharirinaha, the embodied one, the indweller in all the bodies. Then Anashinaha, that which cannot be destroyed. Then Aprameyaha, Atma is not an object of knowledge. So these are the three more aspects he introduced in this sloka. And if I remember right, we ended the last class with a question. If Atma is not an object of knowledge, why are we doing all this study? What is the Gita Shastra for if not knowing Atma? So we are studying all the Shastras to know Atma. And here you are saying Atma cannot be known, it is not an object of knowledge. So this seems to be a very grave contradiction in this entire pursuit. We need to understand what it means, aprameya, what exactly it is meaning. Here, Pujya Swamiji refers to the Bhashyam of Adi Shankara, who addresses this issue and states that even through the study of the Shastras, mind you, even through the study of the Shastras, Brahman or Atma cannot be known. Bhashyakara first says that Atma is not known by any pramana. Pramana means any means of knowledge, including the Vedas, because it is not an object of knowledge. Whatever we understand, we gain knowledge through the Vedas also. All of them are objects of which we gain the knowledge through the Vedas. But thinking that Atma could be known through this pramana, what a person does, everybody will say, oh, if you want to know Atma, you must study Vedanta, Upanishads and all. They reveal Atma. So thinking that that is a correct statement, a person goes to a guru, a gurukulam, does a lot of service. At the end of that whole thing, the guru says, Atma cannot be known even through the Vedas. So, looks like it's a very big racket which is going on. A Brahman racket. Everybody is just, attracted towards it and then told that you cannot know Atma through Veda. And after what? After study a few years rather. And the guru, he is teaching only the Vedas. He is not teaching anything else. After teaching all the Vedas, Vedanta, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, everything, the guru ends up saying Atma is aprameya, it is not an object of knowledge. So even through all these studies, you cannot know Atma. So Puja Swamiji says, naturally, such a person thinks that this all has been a waste. I have been taken for a very long ride. So that is where we get the help from Bhashyakara. He says, in fact, he clarifies that Atma is not known by pratyakshadhi pramanas, including Veda. As we have seen earlier also in Tattva Bodha also we have seen, Vedanta accepts 6 pramanas. Pramana means the means of knowledge. They are pratyaksha, perception, anumana, inference, upamana, comparison, arthapatti, postulation or derivation from circumstances, anupalabdhi, non-perception, and shabda pramana, the Vedas. These 6 pramanas are called Pratyaksha Adi Pramanas, Pratyakshadi Pramanas, which includes Veda as the Shabda Pramana. So what Bhashyakara's first point he says is first to understand that Atma is not known through all these 6 Pramanas, whether by perception or Anumana or Upamana, etc., including Vedas. Why? Because even before the Vedas came into existence, Atma is there from beginningless times. So the existence of the Atma is not established by a pramana like Veda. Veda is a subsequent development. Atma was there before Vedas itself. And similarly, it cannot be established by other pratyakshadi pramanas. And why do we say that existence of Atma cannot be established by any other pramana, including Vedas? It is because what we can establish by these pramanas is the existence of the object. But Atma, the self being a subject, it cannot be established as an object. As I said earlier, I don't need any means of knowledge to know that I exist. Because I am Swayam Siddha. I know I am, and therefore I am. I exist. I don't need anybody else to come and say, oh, you are existing. I don't need any external validation for this fact. Therefore, even for undertaking inquiry into the Vedas for the existence of Atma, first of all, I should be existing. It is the consciousness which enables to me even make the inquiry And that consciousness I am. So therefore, the one who wants to know anything is the same who can use any pramanas to inquire into what is to be known. I hope you are following this line of argument very carefully, huh? Because Bhashyakara goes highly, technically and explain, threadbare he explains this. So even before the pramanas are pressed into service for gathering the knowledge, there must be the self-evident Atma. Without the Atma, there can be no study, there can be no pratyaksha, nothing can be there. So Atma has to first exist. And once you accept, when you are studying, you accept that I am Swayam Siddha, I am existing, then what are you going to know through Vedas about Atma? You already know you exist. And what is it that additionally Veda is going to tell you? It cannot tell you anything because you know that you are already existing. Therefore, the Veda does not establish Atma as it does any other existing thing. For example, we cannot see Swarga by any knowledge of any sense organs, right? Or even any other means of any other pramana. The only place where we come to know the existence of Swarga is Vedas, or for that matter, broadly saying, the scriptures. Or for that example, Punya Papa and all, existence of Punya Papa and all. We cannot see, we cannot use Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, Arthapatti and all to know the existence of Punya Papa. Such things we know through Vedas. Similarly, the Vedas, while addressing, that what I can say, the three Purusharthas, I'm talking about the Karma Kanda, while addressing how to fulfill the three Purusharthas, especially Dharma Purusharthas, it gives a lot of prescription. You do this puja, you do this yaga and all that. And so again, for such things, Shastra becomes the pramana. So things like all these, the Swarga, Punya, Papa and all, that is unknown to me, which I cannot know through any other 5 means of knowledge, 5 pramanas. The 6th pramana, Veda, helps me in knowing those things. So I come to know through the Shastra what is Swarga, what is Punya, what is Papa, all that is said to be dormant in karma. And all these things can be invoked through the Shastra alone. Thus, we find that these unknown things discussed in the Shastra as potentially existing things. That I have got a karma. When I do karma, I earn a punya, I earn a papa. There are 2 results of karma. One result is, what you can call, drishta phalam. Another is adrishta phalam. All these things we come to know only through Shastra. Similarly, there are many other unknown things in this world, which we come to know through various pramanas. A new disease, this corona, for example. After having come to know about the disease, we say corona is, that disease is. And after discovering it, we look for its cause, isn't it? Then after finding the cause, we say the cause is. And the treatment for the cause is this, so and so. And after the treatment, we say the side effects are these. Like this, with the help of all these pramanas, we keep on discovering things that exist, but which were so far not known. This is the process of knowledge, how knowledge takes place. So when we talk about Atma, Although Atma is not available as an object of knowledge, it is not totally unknown. Everybody knows their own existence. And one of the aspects of that Atma is existence, another is consciousness. We may be ignorant of that in the sense that I am Atma. But that Atma is I is not totally unknown. And therefore, Bhashyakara says that in fact, Atma is not something unknown to anyone. It is always self-evident, swata siddha, self-established. No one's Atma is unknown, everyone's Atma is known. Only then this operation of the pramanas is possible. Now, let us come back to the question of the contradiction. Shastra says Shastra is the only pramana for knowing Atma, and this is what many gurus say also. Now the contradiction is, if I already know the Atma, how can the Vedanta Shastra be a pramana? Here Bhashyakara asserts that Shastra is definitely a pramana. How? He says, Shastra is not revealing the existence of Atma. Shastra does not establish the existence of Atma. For that purpose, Shastra is not a pramana. But Shastra has the status of a pramana because it removes the wrong notions that I have about Atma. So what here is happening is, Atma is not unknown. It's very much known, but I have certain wrong notions about that Atma, what that Atma is. Shastra as a pramana removes those wrong notions. And when those wrong notions are removed, the Atma becomes Swayam Siddha, Swayam Jayate, or Swayam Bhati, shines on its own. Atma by nature is Param Brahma, that we have seen. And that Param Brahma is not known to us. The pramanas available to us are only good for knowing things other than ourselves. And as I said, this Atma is already Swayam Siddha, and it is for this Swata Siddha Atma that is mistaken for a Jiva, a doer, a Karta, an enjoyer, a Bhokta, one who is happy one moment and the sad the next moment, a Sukhi, a Dukhi, etc. This Atma, the self, is by mistake taken by all of us as this Jiva who is sometimes happy, sometimes unhappy, sometimes a doer, sometimes an enjoyer. All these things we actually superimpose on this Atma, and then we have a mistaken identity about what our real self is. All that the Shastra does is that it removes all these misconceptions. That I am a Jiva, an individual, means that I am someone who is limited. Isn't it? That is what we take. Oh, I am a limited individual. I am as good as my body is. And this is the natural conclusion of every Jiva. And this conclusion they reach because of avidya, ignorance. So what is happening is that even though the Atma is not unknown, it is already existing. We don't need any other means of knowledge to know the Atma. Because the Atma, the real Atma which is there, is as though veiled or covered by avidya, ignorance. What we do, the status of being a jiva or the jivatva, we superimpose upon the Atma. As Puja Swamiji says, the seeking person, the one who says, I am going to a Gurukulam to seek knowledge about Atma, that seeking itself is born of avidya. This is an error of self-identity, a misconception, a mistake about my own self. This mistake only Shastra can resolve. Because by using any of my own pramanas, including my senses, my jnanendriyas, or even using all the other pramanas like anumana or upamana, etc., this problem or this cannot be resolved. This problem of ignorance cannot be resolved. Therefore, Adi Shankara, Bhashyakara, concludes that Shastra does not prove the existence of Atma, it only removes the confusion that we all of us have got about this Atma. And for that reason, Shastra has got the status of being a pramana, it has pramanatva. It does not bring to your recognition the Atma as an object that is totally unknown, as it does for other unknown things like heaven, swarga, papa, punya, etc., for instance. So for such things like heaven, punya, or even that particular ritual will produce a particular result, etc., Shastra is certainly a pramana, a means of knowledge. Because they are unknown to us, and for bringing an unknown thing to our recognition, Shastra is a pramana. These things are totally unknown to us. So we can get the knowledge of these things by studying the Shastra. And this cannot be known by us by any other sense organs also, isn't it? We cannot use our sense organ to see punya papa, how much punya I have got in my account, how much papa, what will be by next birth. I put it into computer and then it calculates and tells me your next birth is likely to be this. That all we can't do, because we only know through Shastra there is something called punya, something called papa. At best, what we can do, when somebody is actually, we have seen such cases. He is actually very, very rich and, leading a very, very nice, happy life. Lot of wealth, everything is there. One fine day, something happens, that whole family comes to the roads. They become pauper overnight. This is not something I am imagining. In my own family, there is an instance. They were all just, very rich people. Overnight, they all become, and that husband and wife today, in fact, I was speaking to somebody, my cousin last week, he was saying that those couple, they are living in a small 1-bedroom house, which has been given to them by a friend of theirs for staying, and they are in a very pitiable condition. You must have seen their lavish lifestyle with a big bungalow and all, which they were living just about 10, 12 years ago. And today that is their condition. So when we see such things, what we say, it is the karma which is catching up. It is the punya papa that is catching up. So this is the maximum we can know, because we know that there is something called punya papa through the Shastras. We apply that knowledge to infer that this must be the reason why this has happened to them. Otherwise, there is no other reason that we can see or we can understand why it happens to some people like that. But when it comes to the Atma, the pramanatva of the Shastra is there only insofar as it removes all superimpositions upon Atma. And that is what Bhagavan Krishna is trying to do. We have been taking that Atma is Jayate and also Mriyate. It is born, I am born and I die. Why? The birth and death is for the body, but we have superimposed this body on the Atma and then we say, I am born and I die. This is superimposition. Atma is limitless, but I say, I am limited. Atma is sarvagata, all pervading, but I say I live in this particular house. I live in a particular state or particular city. I am limiting my existence to a small place, whereas in reality, I am everywhere. I am sarvagata. These are all the kinds of misconceptions which is arising out of our own superimpositions on the Atma, on our own self, superimpositions of the limitations on our own self, that we become ignorant of what the Atma is. Knowledge is what? Knowledge is nothing but removal of ignorance. Knowledge cannot be a superimposition upon ignorance. If we don't remove ignorance, there can be no knowledge, isn't it? Because ignorance is opposed to knowledge. Therefore, the removal of ignorance is necessary for the knowledge to arise. Ignorance of the Atma is present and the Shastra has the capacity to remove it, meaning it removes all the confusions centered on the Atma, and then Atma itself becomes self-evident. I should not say becomes self-evident. Atma is always self-evident. We understand that Atma, we gain the knowledge, this Atma was always self-evident. I was foolish, ignorant, mudamatehe, for having not understood this reality earlier. And that is why in this verse, Bhagavan Krishna says, Antavantahi ime deha hai. He says all bodies are subject to destruction, whereas Sharirinaha, the Atma, the indweller in the body, is not subject to destruction, because it is the subject and not an object. It is aprameya. Therefore, anything that is not an object is nitya. Anything aprameya is nitya. And there is only one thing which is aprameya. That is what? Swatasiddha Atma. Therefore, Atma is not subject to time and thus not subject to destruction. And of course, after aprameya, Bhagavan says that Atma is sharirinaha, indweller of the body, intimately associated with the body, and that is why we superimpose the Atma, the body on the Atma. We are unable to distinguish between the real self and the superimposed self. It is easier for us to understand ourselves as the body, mind, sense complex. We don't want to punish our intellect, our thinking, put pressure on our thinking capacity to go beyond this body, mind, sense. We don't even want to think for a moment, oh, I have got this body, mind, sense complex. It's a very beautiful, thing, an instrument through which, I do everything. All my actions, everything, even what I eat gets beautifully digested. And this mechanism is like a big town, big city. It has got, even very good exhaust systems also, so that no poisonous things stay in my body and it can be kept clean. All these things we know about this body. We don't want to even think for a moment. How does this whole thing work? What makes this whole body work? We see a toy car which is running on a battery. Immediately our mind goes, oh, this toy car is running because there is a battery in that. We understand that very well, but the same logic we fail to apply to our own self. We never ask the question, how does my body function like this? If we had asked this question, as Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi said, who am I question if you have asked? And he advises, keep on asking this question till you get the answer. Who am I? Who am I? Because if the battery is the life of the car, without the battery, the car cannot operate. Without what can my body, mind, sense complex not operate? If we ask that question, then we will at least get an understanding that there is something which is there, which I am not able to see, which I am not able to perceive, which makes this entire body, mind, sense complex work, function. Even if we reach that point, we will understand there is something like this battery in the car, something which Shastra calls the consciousness, the chit. At least to that extent, we will have some clarity that there is something which is there beyond this body, mind, sense complex. That is why here in this talk, it says Sharirinaha, the indweller of the body, who is intimately associated with the body, without whose association the body cannot function. Where Shariram means the body, Shariri means that which obtains within the body, that which is within the body. Therefore, the Atma is Shariri, within the body. And here again, we must be very careful. When it says within the body, that must be within quotation. Because already Bhagavan has said that Atma is all pervading. And then if you say that it is within the body, then the question will ask whether, tell me one thing, whether Atma is all pervading or it is within the body. Both can't be true, isn't it? So that again appears as another contradiction. Therefore, we have to understand the Sharirinaha very carefully. The way we have to understand Sharirinaha is Atma is within the body also. It is everywhere. And it is within the body also. Just as space is all pervading and it is within the hall also, isn't it? We saw the space example in the last class. The space is within the hall, it is called hall space. Even though the space within the hall and the space outside the hall is one and the same space only, still we give it a name. Oh, this is hall space, that is outside space. By that, we are not saying that hall space means this space is not available outside. We are not saying that. That is how we have to understand. We have to some example with the example of the space, which is all pervading, but appears divided, appears to be individually existing within the four walls of a room or four walls of a hall. In some small nook and corner, space is there. It's a corner space. That does not mean the space is there in the corner only. So the Atma which is within the body is called Shariri. Therefore, Shariri is the special name for the all-pervading Atma, which is also within the body. So this is one more aspect of the nature of Atma. Aprameya we have seen, Sharirinaha we have seen. Now the question is, all this is fine about Atma. What about Anatma? Well, we have seen Atma, Anatma, Viveka and all that. What about Anatma? So Bhagavan says, Ime deha hai antavanta hai. All these Anatma, this is the body, mind, sense complex, all these are all perishable. Antaha means death. That's why Yamaraja is called Antaka. Antavantaha means subject to death. They are mortal. And that which is mortal cannot be eternal, cannot be nitya. That which is mortal can be destroyed and it cannot be avinasha, anashina, sorry. Or avinasha also same, anashina. Anashina is the one which was used in the sloka. So here, Bhagavan Krishna in this sloka is bringing out the contrast. Contrast between the nature of the Atma and the nature of the body. Atma is eternal, whereas the body is temporary. Atma is indestructible, whereas the body gets destroyed. Atma is immortal, and as a body, I am mortal. And the wisest thing to do is to accept Atma as it is, and to accept the body as it is. This is the first acceptance we all should develop in the spiritual path. Never complain against the mortality of the body. Gracefully accept that this body is going to perish one day. It could even be tomorrow. It could be in the next hour. We don't know. So whether it is Bhishma's body or Drona's body or Karna's body, or Bhagavan tells Arjuna, your own mother Kunti's body, ho Arjuna. And for that matter, even my own body, that is Krishna's own body, cannot be maintained eternally. That is why Krishna also, Bhagavan Krishna also in his avatara as Bhagavan Krishna, born in a jail in Mathura, he has got a date of birth which we all celebrate as Janmashtami, isn't it? And Krishna also has a date of death. Of course, I must clarify here, which Bhashyakara also does, that since he is an avatara, and he has taken a body only for a certain purpose, normally we do not say death of Krishna or anything like that. We call it Swargarohanam or some such name we give depending upon what culture we belong to. So the avatara is Avarohanam, taking a body and appearing on this earth for Dharma Samsthapanarthaya. And once that job is done, that Bhagavan leaves that body and does Swarga Arohanam. Arohanam he does. Goes away back. Becomes the totality once again. Temporarily he had become an individual. Vyashti Sharira he had taken, and that Sharira he leaves and goes. But we may change the terminology, and all the fact remains that all bodies, including Krishna's body, Rama's body, every body, they will have to come and go. So Bhagavan is telling through the shloka, hey Arjuna, this is a fact. Antavanta ime deha hai. This is a fact you should accept. Why are you just saying, oh, I am going to kill, that fellow will be dead. He is going to die in any case, whether you kill or not. And therefore, he says, Arjuna, fight. Tasmat yudhyasva bharata. Now, this is another sentence in Bhagavad Gita, which occurs again and again in different forms, which is subject to a lot of controversy, lot of interpretation differences. What does this mean? Tasmat yudhyasva bharata. What Bhagavan Krishna is implying is, Arjuna, there is nothing for you to be sad about. Things that die will die. Things that are dying will also eventually die. And things which remain permanent will always remain permanent. If Arjuna wanted to destroy Bhishma's Atma, he could not. In fact, even to say Bhishma's Atma is wrong, because there is nothing called individual Bhishma's Atma. Atma is one. But even assuming that it is Arjuna's understanding that Bhishma is there, is a body-mind complex, and there is an Atma which is unique to Bhishma, then he cannot destroy that Atma. He can only destroy the body-mind complex, which is in any case is going to be destroyed. If he wanted to stop Bhishma's body from dying, that also he cannot. So either way, Arjuna cannot do anything. Therefore, what is to be done? What is to be done is to be done. That's all. And Bhashyakara here clarifies that Krishna was not giving Arjuna an order to fight. That is the point here. So, asking Arjuna or ordering Arjuna, now I have told you everything, go and fight, that was not Krishna's intention. The meaning here, what Krishna wanted to tell Arjuna was, I have explained all these things to be about Anatma and all. I hope you have understood. And therefore, what is to be done has to be done. And therefore, do not entertain the idea of withdrawing from this battlefield. Now the question is, what is the difference between this statement and an order to fight? Bhashyakara raises this question. That's the beauty of Bhashyakara. Every question that can occur in our mind, in a sharp mind, mind you, he will take up that question and he will address it. He says there is a difference between this statement and an order to fight. He says this was not a command that one should actually fight. If it was not a command, then what is a request? It was not also a request, because Arjuna had already come prepared to fight. He had come with his entire armory, right? I mean, including armies, everybody, his own, bows, arrows, and everything, all this armory. But then he found himself obstructed by sorrow and delusion. Pratibadha, Shoka Moha Pratibadha, he became. There's an obstruction. And that is why at the end of the first chapter, we saw him throwing his arms and sitting down and becoming silent. He could not proceed because he was completely paralyzed, psychologically and emotionally paralyzed for various reasons. And because of that, he was no longer interested in fighting and turned his attention to something else. And all that Bhagavan was doing here was removing the sorrow and delusion that were obstructions, the pratibandhas. And afterwards, if the fighting was to be done, then it was to be done. Therefore, Yudhyasva was not a command. It was only asking Arjuna to do what was to be done. It was only a restatement of what he was already planning to do before all this first chapter began. And from this, what we have to understand is Bhagavan is not asking people to fight against each other. And here Bhagavan, the Bhashyakara makes a very relevant point. He says Gita Shastra is not a pravritti Shastra like the Karma Kanda, which enjoin people to perform various rituals and other actions. We must understand this point very carefully. What is Gita Shastra? It is not a pravritti Shastra. Gita Shastra is a nivritti Shastra, a moksha Shastra. Therefore, to have asked Arjuna to fight would have been the pravritti Shastra, whereas the nivritti here is the removal of the cause of samsara, sorrow, delusion, etc., which is ignorance. So the Gita Shastra is meant to remove the ignorance, which is the cause of samsara, consisting of the shoka and moha. And this should be understood well, very carefully. It was the sorrow and delusion that clouded Arjuna's mind. And for that alone, the Gita Shastra was given by the Lord. Gita Shastra is not a training camp for Arjuna to in the methods of warfare. Therefore, Krishna was not asking Arjuna to fight. Arjuna was already actually in a fighting mood only. He was simply saying, Arjuna, you should do what is to be done. In other words, he was saying that don't give me these kinds of arguments in order not to fight. Here you have come for fighting, you fight. That's all. He was reminding Arjuna the purpose of his coming to Kurukshetra. That's all he was doing. After having tried to remove the shoka and moha. And Puja Swamiji says a very nice example. He quotes an example in his commentary. He says, suppose someone were to say, I will not take care of my child because it takes so much time to take care of a child. It consumes too much of my personal life. I want to pursue Atma. I want to go to the Gurukulam. And to take care of the child, it will take 17 years or perhaps even longer. I cannot wait for moksha. This is a one-person statement. Puja Swamiji is just giving an example. Suppose somebody says like that. And if such a person were to go to Krishna, and Krishna happened to teach Gita, he or she would be told, first to take care of your child. Moksha can wait. At this moment, do what is to be done. And Puja Swamiji says, if a man were to tell Krishna that he wanted to get rid of his wife so that he could become a sannyasi, or that he wanted to become a sannyasi in order to get rid of the wife, either way, he will be told not to use sannyasa for this purpose. There are simpler solutions available. He will be told to get rid of the wife. Don't use sannyasa for this purpose. So, if the man thinks that by getting rid of his wife, he will become a sannyasi, Krishna would say, I am sorry, mister, such an idea is quite useless. It will not work. Therefore, either you better take care of your wife, which is what Krishna's advice will be, Yudhyasva Bharata, take care of your wife, or find some other solution. Sannyasi is not the solution. Sannyasa is not the solution for getting rid of your wife. This is what Krishna will say. And here we have to understand Yudhyasva Bharata from the context also. Arjuna had been talking to Krishna and they happened to be in the battlefield. Therefore, the expressions like fight, get up are all only contextual. On his own, Krishna was not interested in a battle as such. He was there only interested in dharma. If Duryodhana had said, okay, I have now got the wisdom. All I have been doing till now was wrong. It was adharmic. I now am going to give up all my adharma and I am going to lead a life of dharma. Sincerely, he says, and everybody believes, including Krishna, then Krishna will never ask Arjuna, don't leave him, yesterday he was doing all these things, now take revenge. Krishna will never say that. So Krishna was not interested in engaging anyone in a fight. We should never think that Gita says that I should also fight. That is why I am going to fight it out. This is a very wrong interpretation of Gita. Many people who start fighting with everybody in the society and also in the home, they will quote Gita. There also Krishna tells Arjuna, Yudhyasva, I am also going to do Yuddha. That is not what is said here. A particular situation may amount to a fight, that is a different thing. But removing sorrow is the real issue here. And these are some points in the Gita, like this one, that are very, very important to understand very well, because they are areas where they are the areas where people often misunderstand the intended meaning. So what all things we have seen now? Atma is Nityaha, Atma is Satyaha, Atma is Sarvagataha, Atma is Aprameyaha, Atma is Sharirinaha, and Anashinaha also we have seen. In English, Atma is eternal, Atma is absolute reality, Atma is all pervading, Atma is never an object, but ever the subject. Atma is the indweller of all bodies, and Atma is indestructible. This is what we have learned till now. So we will now go to the next sloka. Yenam veti hantaram yaschainam manyate hatam ubhau tau na vijanitah nayam hanti na hanyate. So the Anvaya of this sloka is Yaha enam hantaram veti Yahacha enam hatam manyate tau ubhau na vijanitah ayam na hanti na hanyate. The word meanings are Yaha, the one who, enam, this self, hantaram, killer, veti, considers or thinks, cha, and Yaha, the one who, enam, this self, hatam, killed, manyate, considers or thinks, tau ubhau, they both, na vijanitah, they do not know, I am this self, na hanti, does not kill, na hanyate, is not killed. So both the one who thinks this self to be a killer and the one who thinks of it as the killed do not know. The self does not kill, nor it is killed. This is the short meaning of this sloka. And this verse and the next verse are taken from Kathopanishad, but put little differently by Lord Krishna. Like we can say, Lord Krishna has slightly paraphrased a Kathopanishad mantra. The original mantra in the Kathopanishad is Hanta chen manyate hantum, hataschet manyate hatam, ubhau tauna vijanitah nayam hantina hanyate. Can you see the close correlation of the words between Kathopanishad and this sloka? Next sloka also we will see the same thing. And you must now recollect the dhyana slokas. What was that? Upanishad gava hai. Sorry, I'm forgetting.
Sarvopanishado gavaha.
Upanishado gava hai. Dogdha
Gopalanandana.
That is, this is a classic. Of course, there are more mantras which are taken from Kathopanishad directly. Other Upanishads are also taken rather. Here it is Kathopanishad. So that is the why it is said Sarva Upanishado Gava. All the Upanishads are like cows. And Krishna is the Dota, he is the person who is milking that Upanishad cow and presenting that beautiful nectar like milk to all of us. So this is an example which is taken directly from Kathopanishad, this sloka. So the idea is the same which is there in Upanishad, but the expression slightly different, but not too many changes also there. Actually speaking, Bhagavan Krishna need not have quoted the Upanishad almost verbatim, since he has the authority to propound a vision in his own way. He is Bhagavan himself. He is the creator of all the Vedas. But he respected the Upanishad because it's a means of knowledge, a pramana grantha. As we just discussed, quite detailed. It is a pramanam for removal of samsara. How to remove samsara and realize that I am Mukta Purusha is what the Upanishad gives knowledge about. And therefore, whatever he says should have the sanction of the Upanishad. In fact, later on, Krishna will also point out in the Gita itself that the Upanishads were his own creation. 15th chapter. Vedaischa sarvai ahameva vedyah vedanta krit veda videva chaham. I am the one known to be known through the Vedas. I am the one who initiated these Vedas. Therefore, we find that in the Bhagavad Gita, in most places, not in all places, Bhagavan Krishna always talks in his role as Ishvara, in his avatara role. Occasionally, he will come into his role as a friend of Arjuna and things like that and all. But mostly we will find it's an avatara role, or he will be speaking in the Swarupa, from his Swarupa standpoint. Therefore, as Ishvara, Krishna naturally does not need to substantiate his statement. At the same time, however, Gita has got certain historicity in that it came from a given mind. Here it is Krishna's mind, and it came at a given time. What is heard and received by one generation and given to another generation is called Shruti. What is heard and transferred is called Shruti. Whereas what is born of someone's mind after hearing is called Smriti. What Krishna says has got the status of Smriti and not Shruti. Any Smriti must have the sanction of Shruti. And if the Smriti is against the Shruti is to be looked at again to see whether it has some other meaning that will conform to Shruti. And if it does not conform in all areas from the beginning to the end, if does not conform with the Shruti, then the Smriti has to be dismissed. This is the way the Shastra work. Shruti is the topmost pramana, most authoritative. Anything, any other Purana or for that matter Smriti Granthas and all, they are all derived from the Shrutis. But they are all products of human mind. Therefore, if whatever is contained in the Smritis and Puranas, they are not in consonance with what is said in the Vedas, those are invalid. Those Smritis and Puranas are invalid. And this is a test which every scholar makes rather. Whenever he is creating something, he has to stick to what is stated. He can say it in his own words, no problem. So this is a tradition. And Bhagavan is recognizing the tradition. He recognizes the fact that what he is teaching here is a Smriti Grantha. Bhagavad Gita is a Smriti Grantha. And because of this tradition, he now wants to present some pramana that what he is saying is conformed to the Shruti, the Upanishads also. And in that, he is not saying that this is what Shruti says, that is why I am saying. He is not saying that. He puts this in his own words of the words of the Shruti, in his own words, in a slightly different form. And as I said, there are several instances in the Gita where such verses have been taken from the Upanishads, mainly from the Kathopanishad, for the purpose of validating what is being said. Because Shruti is a pramana as an accepted means of knowledge, it is self-valid. It does not require any validation from any other pramana. All that is required is that it does not contradict any other pramana. If Shruti can be contradicted but any other means of knowledge, then Shruti ceases to be a pramana. In other words, Shruti need not be validated by any other pramana for it to be established as a pramana. But if any other means of knowledge, valid means of knowledge, contradict what Shruti says, then Shruti will no longer remain a pramana. And that is why we require reasoning, tarka, so that at every stage where a contradiction appears, we can prove that any other pramana which is there, it is not contradicting Shruti in any manner. It is almost time. We will see more of this. Well, this is all, we have to understand how these pramanas work and all. And Puja Swamiji has been, at the forefront of establishing the pramanatvam of Shruti. If you don't accept Shruti as a pramana, as a means of knowledge, then you have no clue about the Vedas. That is what he says. So there are tests which the scholars prescribe, and those tests a little bit more we will discuss at the beginning of the next class before we go into the details of this particular sloka. Okay, I'll say the prayers. Om Purnamadav Purnamidham Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vachishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you all very much. Hari Om.
Thank you, Raghuji. Hari Om.
Thank you, Mama.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, Guruji.
Hari Om. Thank you very much.
Hari Om.
Thank you very much, Guruji. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Namaskaram.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you. Namaskaram. Who is this Galaxy Tab? I don't know who it is. Name is not there. But that hand is raised right from the beginning of the class. So I think it's a mistake. Sulekha ji, yes, you can, your turn to ask a question. Namaste.
Namaste. Namaskaram, Guruji. I have two questions. My first question is a clarification. Is Brahman and Atma the same?
Yes, same. Brahman, we call it Brahman from a totality point of view. We call the same consciousness Atma from the individual point of view. That's all. It's one and the same.
Thank you. And my second question is ignorance a superimposition on knowledge, similar as body, mind, intellect is a superimposition on the Atma? So
ignorance is, see, the superimposition happens because of ignorance. So ignorance is the cause and the superimposition is the effect. Because we don't know what the real nature is, there's ignorance about the real nature of the Atma. But we know that there is something called Atma. I know that I exist. So, but I don't know what I really am. That is my ignorance. So what I do, what is available to me, my body, mind, sense complex, I take that as myself. So the superimposition is the result of the ignorance of the real nature of Atma, cause and effect relationship. And all the Shastra does is this ignorance caused superimposition, it removes. Then what happens? I then come to know that the real I is always there, and that it is just like, there are examples given in the Shastra. There is this bright sun, right? And it is covered by a dark cloud. The cloud is so dark that we are ignorant there is a sun behind that cloud. Now Shastra comes in and as a wind here, strong wind, and blows the cloud away. And we have now get the knowledge of the sun. Is it a knowledge of the sun that you are getting now? The ignorance is removed, so the sun was always there. So you get to know that the sun was always there. That is the example Shastra uses. Like the cloud is blown away, ignorance is blown away by Shastra, and then you realize that what your real is. That is what is the answer. Yeah. Hari Om.
Thank you. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Yes, Anjali ji.
Namaste, Guruji.
Namaste.
Not a question, but while studying this Atma and Anatma, I remembered something. So I thought I will share with you that
Okay,
in astronomy, scientists have introduced two new terms like dark energy and dark matter. And both these forces, these are the forces, they have defined these as the forces. And this dark energy consists of most of the part of the universe, everywhere in the universe, but much is unknown about it. Likewise, the dark matter. And dark energy consists of 68% of the universe. And dark matter consists of 28% of the universe. And what you, me, and this earth and planet, all the part that is seen, that is only 5%. So I thought I remembered that I will share with you. It's quite premature to draw similar lines to find significance in the spiritual realm, but a lot of research is going on.
Yeah, I know that there are a lot of research going on.
Yeah.
But see, what is happening is science is still looking at the reality of the universe as an object to be discovered, right? And that is the problem with the scientific progress. They are still looking for a God particle, a God, and things like that and all. And one fine day, I hope that science will understand that this is nothing to be looked up outside. What you have to first look at is inside, and it is your own self that it is, which is what the universe is made up of. So that is from a philosophical point of view. As long as you consider the reality of this universe as an object, you will never get it because it is aprameya. You keep on searching, you will, from one level of ignorance that may get reduced, but some degree of ignorance will always remain, and that science will keep on doing that. Some scientists, in fact, they have in quantum physics, they have now come very near to that, right? They have accepted that there is something which they are not able to define, and its behavior also they are not able to define. But they have come very near to consciousness rather, but still they are looking at consciousness as an object.
As an object. Yeah, that is the difference.
I guess, Guruji, there at least I heard that they have realized that there is no matter, it's all just waves.
Yes.
And actually, matter doesn't really exist.
See, from where they started matter is atoms, and then they say molecules, then they say energy, and then they say now waves, then they say particles. So many definitions of matter, science has changed, right?
And also the 5 forces or 4 forces traced back all were one, it seems. Again, going back to the only one.
Yeah.
That also I heard.
So, I mean, there is another angle to whatever discovery science. what is the purpose of the scientific discoveries? What is the mankind going to get from these discoveries, which they are paying millions of dollars? Because they have failed to understand what is the sole one objective of every human being. And that is what our Shastras address. The sole objective of every human being, which will not be denied by any human being, is to be happy. Sorry. Isn't it? Is that not our sole objective in life? That I want to be happy always. That is the objective. Now, whatever is need to be done, needs to be done to be happy always. Now, Shastra goes into an analysis of why I consider myself unhappy at times. I am happy at times, but I am not happy always. Why is that is happening? That is the research which Shastra has gone into, and Shastra's end goal is to establish how you can become happy. What is it that you need to do to be always happy? This is not the goal of science. So these Shastra's approach and science's approach will never ever meet together, even though they may go on their empirical experiments and things like that and all, where they are not addressing the basic human need, happiness. Science does not talk about that at all. Unless you have got the goal fixed, what is it that I am looking for? You just go on, when you go in a blind alley and keep searching, you will discover so many things. So I have found this, I have found that. How is it going to help you is the question science doesn't answer. So that's a very fundamental difference between science and Shastra. Yes, Sulekha ji.
I understood.
Yeah.
Hari Om, Guruji, I have one more question. I often had heard that Bhagavad Gita is considered a smriti on dharma and duty, a karma kanda, so to speak. But the slokas that you have spoken of today really seem to consider it more as a jnana kanda, a moksha, a path to moksha. So I guess my question is really around, is the jnana kanda around the basis of understanding, and karma kanda gives us the sort of the duties or the actions to be done in order to receive or understand or reveal the understanding?
Well, yes, I mean, see, as I said, slokas, we are out of 700 slokas, we are now only in the second chapter and 20th sloka, right? So the sloka 12 to 25, they are addressing the philosophical portion, the Jnana Kanda part of this entire Bhagavad Gita. Of course, this will get repeated again and again, 4th chapter later on also. That's a different thing, but this is sort of a synopsis which Bhagavan Krishna is presenting in the beginning. Now he will come to from 26th sloka, he will abandon this, then he will talk about Laukika Vishaya. Why, even if you don't consider all these things, Arjuna, why you must now engage in this fighting? Do your karma, that because that is your swadharma, that you should do. All those things we will come rather. So this is not the whole of Bhagavad Gita. This is only 12 slokas of Bhagavad Gita, which is the fundamental foundation of the whole Gita. And that is why Acharyas like Paramarthanandaji and also Puja Swamiji spend a lot of time in explaining this. Once this is fixed in our mind and we understand this very well, then later on when Bhagavan is talking about the various aspects of this Atma or Brahman and all that, it will become much more easier for us to understand and relate to it. But we will talk 3rd chapter, Karma Yoga only. The chapter itself is called Karma Yoga. Then again, he will talk about Karma Yoga and things like that and all. So many things are there. We are just in the beginning stages. Yeah, that's all you have to understand. Okay.
Thank you. I have one more question, if I may.
Go ahead, don't worry.
Thank you. The karma kanda and the jnana kanda seem to be two different paths. And that's, again, seeing the world or seeing creation or seeing all of us, the Atma, Brahman, as one. The idea of a split of two different paths, even when you mentioned Lokika, the transactional world, not versus, but separate from the spiritual journey, how can they become one and the same? I guess my question is around the assimilation of the knowledge so it is reflected fully in the world, not as a separate part of 1 hour a day or a separate sadhana, but that sadhana becoming everything that one does and becoming everything that one is reflecting. So that is the question. It's a very, I know, a deeper question, but
very good question. See, we must understand one thing. The Jnana Kanda is nothing but a continuation of a Karma Kanda, and it is not separate. These nomenclatures, Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, and all, because when you talk of Vedas, Vedas is one body of knowledge. What happens is this Jnana Kanda, or what we call Jnana Kanda, the Upanishads, referring to the Upanishad, they are occurring at the end of the Vedas. That is why that is called Veda Anta Bhaga. That's all. Otherwise, there is no difference. It is a flow. Now, how that flow we have to understand. See, we talk about whenever human goals we are talking about 4 Purusharthas, right? Dharma, Artha, Kama, Dharma, and Moksha. Now, the what so-called Karma Kanda, the Veda Purva Bhaga, what we call, that addresses how to reach or how to attain the goals of Artha, Kama, and Dharma, which is very much important for 99% of the people. Everybody is not interested in moksha. They are only interested in their day-to-day life. I want a child, I want to buy a car, I have got these kamas, I have got this, I want to do dharma, I want to set up an hospital, I want to serve the poor. These are all the goals most people have got in their life. So what the Veda is doing is right from Artha, that is first basic need. And that's why, even if you look at from a management point of view, the Maslow's model, I don't know whether you're familiar with the Maslow's model, that again, that talks about the same thing, right? From the bottom up, it's a pyramidal model where basic is security, food, home, shelter. This is what is the basic need. Once a person has met that basic need, that is Artha Purushartha is completed, he comes to Kama Purushartha. And the desires and all these things starts coming in that person. So he will go behind that. Once he has done with desires, oh, I have got enough. I have done enough. I have got enough wealth. I have got everything that I wanted in my life, is when he will start thinking, how can now I share these things with other people? I see so many poor people around, so many people who are still in the Artha stage, trying to find security. Let me provide. Let me contribute. As Puja Swamiji says, from a consumer, let me become a contributor. That is the Dharma Purushartha. Right? You have done that also. Now he has said, I have completed all the 3 Purusharthas. Now what do I do? Right? That is when he comes to Jnana Kanda, the Antama Bhaga, that tells you, very good, you have done all these things. Now you are eligible for getting admission to the Jnana Kanda school. Without doing this first 3, you would not be eligible, because if you come and start studying Upanishads and all your mind is running about where I am going to find my next meal, nothing will go, no Atma, no Brahman, nothing will go inside you. So don't look at Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda, 2 separate things and different. It's a flow. Without Karma Kanda, there cannot be any Jnana Kanda. That we have to understand very, very well. Now we will say that, but I don't do anything which is prescribed in the Karma Kanda in terms of doing a puja or upasana. No, Karma Kanda doesn't say that. Karma Kanda basic thing is that whatever you do is a part of karma only. If you are doing something for your artha, that is you are doing some action, that is part of Karma Kanda. Only thing is what Karma Kanda's emphasis is as a pre-qualification for Jnana Kanda, whatever you do with a Karma Yoga attitude. So if you have spend 80% of the time of your life doing all karmas with the Karma Yoga attitude, automatically you are now totally eligible for getting admission into Jnana Kanda. That is how the whole scheme works. That's how we have to understand. Have I made it clear?
Yes, thank you. Hari Om. Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you. Any more question? Astivanava. Okay, I think that in that case, I should close the session. I don't know, other hands are raised. Okay, we'll see you next Saturday. Hari Om. Thank you all. Thank you very much.